I never imagined I'd wake up one morning and find out my life had a price tag. But that morning, I did. I woke up to an empty house. Blank walls, echoing silence where laughter used to be. I realized my home wasn't mine anymore. My husband had sold it. Without asking. Without a goodbye. We bought that house together 6 years ago. It wasn't big, but it was ours. Painted with our dreams. Every corner held memories. Our first Christmas tree, birthday cakes, late-night talks, whispered promises, the couch we sat on after a fight, the coffee stains on the kitchen table, the cracked tile in the bathroom we swore we'd fix someday. That was our life, but it wasn't enough to keep it. I walked down the hallway that morning. The floorboards creaked. Empty shelves. A mattress on the floor. My wedding photos. The one where he whispered forever gone. The smell of coffee still hung in the air, but it tasted bitter. It all felt surreal, like I was trapped inside someone else's memory. My phone rung. It was the real estate agent. A man I'd never met. He had paperwork ready. "We closed the contract," he said. Voice professional. Cold. Title signed. Deed transferred. "Congratulations." "What about me?" I asked. Silence. Then the line cut. Silence became a hammer hitting my chest. I ran outside. The neighborhood was quiet. The mailboxes stood in a row. I saw our name on the metal plaque, still there, glinting in the morning sun, but the door behind it. Open. Gone was the lock, the paint, the curtain on the living room window. Just an empty shell. I grabbed my bag. Left. Didn't look back. I could feel the walls watching me. Judging me. I could hear the echoes of every laugh, every promise, every moment I thought was forever. That day, I walked the streets. Bag in hand. Heart in pieces. I didn't go to police. Didn't call a lawyer. I chose to walk days turned into nights. Nights into empty spaces. I stayed with my sister for a while. Told her everything. She hugged me hard. "He's a coward," she said. "You deserve better." But her words only bruised what was already broken, because I didn't just lose a husband, he lost my Ome. My future. My security. My dignity. I tried to sleep, but the empty mattress smelled like betrayal. I tried to cook, but the silence in the kitchen burned louder than hunger. I tried to cry, but tears ran dry until I remembered the mailbox. That shining nameplate. That was the proof. He didn't just leave me, he erased us. I opened my laptop. Legal research, gathered documents, emails, bank statements, proof of joint ownership, payments made, taxes paid, mortgage cleared, everything in my name too. I contacted a lawyer. A woman with sharp eyes and a quiet voice. She listened, nodded. She said, "We'll fight." And fight I would. Because they may have stolen the house, but they couldn't steal the truth. I closed the laptop, packed a bag, and started walking again, walking towards justice. The next morning, I sat across from my lawyer at her office. She wore glasses low on her nose and typed fast. "We have a case," she said, "but we need to act quickly." We filed a legal injunction to freeze all joint assets. I sent it to every bank we had ever used. I called the financial advisor we once shared. He sounded surprised. "I didn't know you two were separating." Neither did I. It felt strange, fighting someone I once called the love of my life. But betrayal doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes, it signs your name on a dotted line and sells your house. 2 days later, I got an email. My ex-husband, one line. I had to do what was best for me. That is Sewanake now. He never planned to include me. He sold our home, our memories, for convenience. But what he didn't expect was that I'd fight back. I called his employer, asked for payroll details. They wouldn't give it. So I subpoenaed it. The attorney said we could block transfers, track payments. I froze his accounts. Every last one. When he tried to withdraw money, the bank called me. There's been a hold placed due to ownership dispute, they said. He couldn't touch a cent. Later that week, he called me, his voice full of fake concern. "Can't we talk about this?" I said nothing, just let the silence answer him. He came to my sister's house, knocked on the door. I didn't open it. I watched him through the curtain. Same face, different man. He shouted, "You're ruining me." But he already ruined us. I focused on the case, found the email trail where he had contacted the real estate agent months ago. He had planned this for weeks. He even forged my initials. That was the final nail. My lawyer prepared a court order. We sat before the judge, my husband, wearing his best shirt, acting like he was confused. It was a misunderstanding, he claimed, but my documents told the real story. The judge read the case file slowly, then looked at him and said, "You will not profit from deception." He ruled in my favor. The sale was declared fraudulent. The house was to be resold. Half the funds to be frozen, pending further investigation. I walked out of that courtroom feeling two things: broken, but hurt. I walked out of the courthouse that day feeling hollow. The ruling was against him, but the damage had already been done. Our memories, our home, our life together, they were scattered in files, bank ledgers, and empty hallways. I returned to the house once more, before it was sealed. The gate was chained, the windows boarded, dust hung thick in the air. I stepped inside, boots echoing against the floor, light filtering through cracked blinds. Each room was silent, cold. I walked to the bedroom we shared. The bed was stripped, the wardrobe empty. I opened drawers, empty. Nothing remained. No clothes, no photos, no echoes, just emptiness and a nameplate on the mailbox that still had my last name written faintly. I closed my eyes, and memories surged. First morning coffee on that porch, birthday balloons floating in the living room, snowflakes against the window during winter nights, laughter, fights, apologies, dreams, all reduced to shadows. I stepped outside, locking the door for the last time. I turned the key, heard the click, a final punctuation. I put the key in my pocket. It felt heavy. I drove away. No destination. Just forward. Tears fell, not from sorrow, but from realization. Sometimes the home you lost becomes the courage you carry. Days passed. I moved into a small apartment. Bare walls, a single mattress. But it was mine, and free. I opened the sealed envelope the judge had handed me. Case closed, sale nullified, house rescinded. The text glowed under the lamp. I let the words sink in. I walked through my new place. With bare walls and cheap curtains, it didn't look like much. But it was peace. My heart hammered once, then slowed. For the first time in months, I exhaled. I began rebuilding, not the house, but my life. I found a small job. Nothing glamorous, but honest pay. And good hours. I replaced broken dreams with new routines. Grocery runs, morning coffee, evening walks. I learned to sleep again without nightmares of slammed doors and forged deeds. I found solace in old friends, the ones who knew me before marriage. Coffee meets, shared meals, laughter over small jokes. They reminded me I was more than a wife, more than a homeowner. I was my own person. At night, I sometimes looked up at the sky. Stars silent, distant, but constant. I whispered to the darkness, "You can take everything, but you can't take me." Months later, a letter arrived. Not from him, from the woman who bought the house after the sale. She wrote, "You walked away with dignity. I hope you find what you are looking for." Her message didn't heal the past, but it sealed its weight. As if the universe whispered, some debts aren't money, they're integrity. I kept the letter on the kitchen counter. It reminded me every time I drank water, cooked dinner, turned off the light. I survived. I reclaimed my life. Time doesn't erase betrayal, but it can build strength. Over the next year, I changed. Not the parts traced by my former name, but the parts woven into my soul. I rebuilt trust in myself. I relearned what it meant to wake up without fear. I met people, kind ones, honest ones, not to replace what I lost, but to remind me what life still can be. I fell in love again with small moments. Sunrise on the balcony, coffee aroma filling the kitchen, laughter with friends who stayed the ones who saw me breaking, then rising. On a quiet night, I burned the last paperwork related to the sale. Legal letters, bank notices, eviction warnings. Gone. I watched the flames dance, each contract turning to ash, and with each spark, I felt chains breaking. Standing in front of the fire, I whispered a goodbye. Not to the pain, but to the hold it had on me. I stepped back, took a deep breath, looked up at the ceiling of my small apartment. Clean, new, mine. I opened my laptop, started writing, not about betrayal. Not about loss, about hope, healing, rising. About women who were broken and became warriors. And I uploaded that first video. My story. My truth. My side of the story. If you're watching this, maybe you've lost your home, your trust, your sense of belonging. Maybe someone sold your future while you were asleep. Then I want you to know, you're not alone. You have the right to walk away, to rebuild, to rise. Because home isn't a house. Home is peace. Home is dignity. And no one can take that from you unless you let them. I thought the fight was over when the court ruled in my favor. I was wrong. Weeks after the verdict, I started getting strange calls. No number, no voice, just breathing. At first I ignored it. Then the letters started. Letters filled with threats. Pay up or disappear, one said. You got what you deserved. Bitch. Read another. The police said there was little they could do. No fingerprints. No recordings. Just words. Empty envelopes. One night I found my new apartment's door ajar. The lock broken. The kitchen window smashed. Papers scattered on the floor. Kitchen bills. Grocery receipts. The letter from the buyer of the house. And on top, a set of old keys. Familiar keys. They had broken in. They weren't after money anymore. They were after fear. That night I called my lawyer. She said, we file again. We strengthen security. We take this public. But I was done running. I refused to be a victim again. I packed a single bag, grabbed my laptop, my documents, and a camera. I wasn't leaving. I was exposing. I recorded a video. Raw. No edits. I told the world what happened. The sale, the fraud, the threats, the harassment. I posted it online under a new name. My side of the story. Within hours, comments poured. What happened to you is disgusting. Stand strong, sister. We're watching. We care. Support came from strangers, survivors of abuse, people who lost homes, women who were betrayed. The threats stopped. The next day. Maybe they realized they couldn't hide behind anonymity anymore. Or maybe they saw the consequence of exposure. I don't know. What I know is, I turned fear into power. Then the unexpected happened. A lawyer from a nonprofit housing rights group reached out. She said she had resources, connections, and wanted to take the case pro bono. Her words, no one should lose a home and dignity. With their help, I filed a motion to reclaim not only my home, but also damages for emotional distress, illegal eviction, and harassment. I waited, nights tense, days silent. Every knock on the door, every phone ring, a burst of adrenaline. Finally, one morning, it came. A court summon. The judge had approved the motion. The house sale was nullified permanently. The new buyer's contract voided. The keys, the title, everything back, in my name. And a settlement, restitution for theft, emotional damage, and cover for therapy, security, and losses. When I walked into that house, for the first time in months, I felt centuries of pain lift off my shoulders. The floor creaked under my boots. The air smelled of old wood and hope. I turned on the lights. The living room was dusty, empty, but it was mine again. I opened every door, every closet, every drawer. It was ours. The home we built, the memories we made, the promises we whispered, all still there, waiting. I walked outside to the oak tree. Ran my hand over the trunk. I remembered childhood laughter, scraped knees, summer evenings. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. The world was silent, but to me, it sounded like victory. I placed the old mailbox, wheat or name, back at the curb. Letters would come. Maybe some new threats. But now, I had a shield, truth, legal power, community support. I had my life back. My dignity. My home. Days turned into weeks. The house needed fixing. The walls were cracked, floors warped, paint peeling. But I didn't care. I painted anyway, with colors of dawn, soft beige, warm yellow, calming blue. Each brush stroke felt like healing. I started repairing memories, not by erasing the pain, but by building new ones. I hung the family photos back, cleaned old frames. I placed flowers. On the windowsill, I made coffee in the old kitchen. The aroma filled the air, real, simple, homey. I spent nights writing, not stories of betrayal, but of resilience, of second chances, of healing. I turned my hurt into hope, my fear into strength. One Sunday afternoon, I stood on the porch with a cup of coffee, the sun warm on my skin. I looked at the street, the oak, the mailbox. I whispered, "Welcome home." I opened my laptop and uploaded the final version of my story. I titled it, "I Got My Home Back, and My Life Too." Comments flooded. "You gave them the truth. They couldn't fight." "You are brave. Thank you for sharing." I read them one by one, let them sink in. I wasn't alone anymore. That night, I wrote a letter. Not to him, not to her, to myself. You lost everything. Then you lost yourself, but you came back. Stronger, wiser, whole. I folded the letter, placed it in a box, along with the old keys and the torn deeds. I closed the box, locked it, and placed it in the closet. Not as a memory of pain, but a reminder of survival. If you are watching this, and you feel lost, betrayed, erased, know this. They can take your house, your possessions, your documents. They can sell your future on a piece of paper, but they can never own your soul, your dignity, your fight. Stand up. Speak out. Tell Jovsai, because sometimes justice doesn't come knocking. You have to build the door.